Hey guys, another exciting week of distance learning and um, a new unit. You guys hopefully finished that test over logarithms. Um, and now we're going to move to rational functions and rational equations. And today we're just going to talk about the actual expressions of rationals. Rational expression is a ratio of two polynomial expressions. Um, Basically, this part of the unit is a ton of factoring and canceling. So here's your three steps. You always want to kind of your checklist that we always have. Factor everything that can be factored, simplify the monomials, and eliminate common binomial factors. So on this one, number one is a monomial, so there's nothing to factor. We just simplify. You treat this thing as two separate entities. You got your numbers, 20 over 14, which simplify by 2 down to 10 and 7. And then you got x to the 6th and x to the 2nd, which simplifies in the numerator to x to the 4th. And we just simplified our first rational expression. Second example is it is binomial or polynomial, and so we have to always factor even. Factoring the top, we want to take out our 6, call it k minus 6 over k minus 6. Those cancel, and the answer is actually just the whole number 6. I told you guys at the beginning of the year we'd be factoring all year long. And so number 3, we have a polynomial in the denominator, binomial in the numerator. Try to keep these as easy as possible as far as factoring. And the denominator factors into y plus 8, y minus 6. And we are asked to eliminate common binomial factors, numerator, denominator. So y plus 8 cancels, and we're left with 1 over y minus 6. Over here on number 4, lots of factoring to happen here. First, we want to factor out our constant, r squared minus r minus 20 over 8 r plus 4. And then we once again want to factor the numerator. And one little clue, usually, not always, but usually they're going to have something that cancel. So it's kind of a little hint that the numerator is going to have an r plus 4 in it. And then the other one's r minus 5 over 8 parentheses r plus 4. Cancel our common binomials, simplify our coefficients, and we're left with r minus 5 in the numerator over 4. You can put parentheses around that or not. It doesn't really matter. Okay, huge thing next. So huge that we have something that says, watch out. So the numerator. The numerator factors, it is a conjugate pair, p minus 7, p plus 7. And when you cancel something out, it has to look identical. And so since 7 minus p isn't literally identical to p minus 7, even though it kind of looks that way, this is a huge thing I can't stress enough, that you have the ability and the permission to do. And that is take this 7 minus p and factor out a negative 1. In factoring out a negative 1, let's say over here in the margins, you have 7 minus p, and you factor out a negative 1. That gives you a negative 7 plus p, which we can transpose and call p minus 7. So basically, if you see something that's out of order, factor out a negative and flip them. So this 7 minus p, when I factor out a negative, rewriting the numerator. When I factor out a negative, it becomes p minus 7. Now the p minus 7's cancel. The negative is still there, so you have p plus 7 over negative 1, or negative p plus 7. I know that's a little weird, and we'll see that several times throughout this unit. Okay. Again, monomial factoring of number 6. They share a 3 and an a, so I'm going to go 3 parentheses 4a squared. I'm sorry, rewind, 3a minus 1. Okay, so I factored a 3a out of this. In the denominator, I'm going to take out a 6a squared, leaving me with 2a plus 1. We can still factor the numerator. I told you the little hint. You're usually going to be able to cancel stuff out. So 3a parentheses 2a plus 1, 2a minus 1 over 6a squared times 6a squared times 2a plus 1. My 2a plus 1's cancel. My 3a and 6a squared can simplify together, and I end up with 2a minus 1 over 3 cancels with the 6, leaving a 2 in the denominator. Come on, pen. Leaving a 2 in the denominator. My a with my a squared leaves an a in the denominator. And another point to make, you can't cancel the 2a minus 1 with the 2a. This is a binomial. This is a monomial. You can't cancel monomials and binomials. They have to be the same. They have to match. Okay, so please avoid the temptation to cancel those 2a's. That is your final answer, 2a minus 1 over 2a. Okay. Oh gosh, a lot of factoring on this one. So numerator, I can pull a 2, leaving me with 3n squared plus 4n plus 1 over, I can factor out a 2, leaving me with a parentheses of n squared minus 1. Now I'm going to rely heavily on that thing that's done in mathematical worksheets that, although it looks difficult, there's usually some little tricks to do. So my 2's cancel, so I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that right now. The denominator, why am I starting with the denominator? Because it's going to give me a clue. Like I said, most of these factor to where something will cancel. Most, not always. And so I can pretty much guarantee that there's either going to be an n minus 1 or an n plus 1, just for simplicity's sake. So I'm thinking that this is going to have an n plus 1. It couldn't have an n minus 1 just because of the way that the signs line up. And so I'm guessing that if I need 3n squared, that this is a 3n. And I'm guessing that since this is a 1, well, that's a 1 also. I'm going to FOIL this in my head real quick. 3n squared plus 3n plus 1n is 4n and plus 1. So, like I said, most of these, just to get the point across, will have something that naturally cancels, leaving you with the answer of 3n plus 1 over n minus 1 as a final answer. Okay, on the next one, we're going to use that watch out trick because the W at the end is minus, and we'd rather have that in the front. Not only that, but we can also take out 5. So I'm going to call that, just so I can reverse them, I'm going to factor out a negative 5, and that brings the W to be positive. The 45 is now negative, making it a negative 9. If we were to distribute this negative 5 in, it would revert back to negative 5W and positive 45. Okay, now using my little cheat trick, I'm thinking that this is going to have a W minus 9, because why would they make it that difficult on us? So over here, I'm going to say, I wonder if it's W minus 9, and that would mean this has to be 3W to get W squared, and then minus 1 to get 9. This is just kind of my thoughts written down on paper. And here's what we have. We have negative 9, 3W, that's negative 27W, W and a minus 1 is a minus 1W, gives me negative 28W in the middle, and everything works out as it should. So the denominator, my W's aren't working. W minus 9, 3W minus 1, W minus 9 cancels, negative 5 over 3W minus 1. That is a W. Okay, let's see if we can get the next page. No, I'm going to pause this video and make a second one.